Hi guys, I'm buzzing a little bit because I've just relaxed my hair on my own and I think I did a pretty good job. I've missed a little bit at the back so it's still a little bit afro-y, but anyway, yeah, I'm just really proud. I think it looks quite good. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. It is about Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom. I was thinking of doing like a trilogy review in one video, but I'm just a bit still excited about it. I just kind of wanted to hurry up and review it now. So I am going to be splitting this into non-spoilers and then like a spoilery book discussion, but I'll let you know when that part comes. So this is the first of 3 books. There's Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, then there's Hollow City, and then there is Library of Souls, which I think came out near the end of 2015. This book follows a boy called Jacob, and after a very kind of tragic family situation, he finds himself feeling like he has to travel to Wales and kind of undiscover the mystery of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, which is an abandoned orphanage. And it's just creepy. It's got that notion of creepiness. I mean, these photos are all throughout it, so I just instantly thought it was going to be a complete horror story, which it wasn't, but I'll get back into that in a minute. Anyway, just by the synopsis and by the photo on the front of the cover, you're going into it thinking like, yeah, I want to be scared, I want to be creeped out a little bit. So, I ended up giving this a 4 stars. It was so entirely unique. It's nothing like I've ever read before. The plot in itself is just so, I guess, intricate. I've never read anything like that before, so I was very appreciative of having something very new. As soon as I read the synopsis, I was hooked, and the prologue was just awesome. I had to read it to my cousin and she wants to read it now, so I'm probably going to lend her this soon. It's just awesome, like, wow. I found it really compelling when I was reading this, but in saying that, I did struggle kind of midway through whether I should give it a 3.5 stars or a 4 star, because, and this isn't the book's fault, but through the last few chapters I wasn't as eager to pick it up, so I was thinking, should that affect my rating? But I decided to just give it the 4 star because overall I was really enjoying it. And I think I just kind of hesitated at picking it up near the last few chapters because I didn't want it to end. And even though I have the other 2 books in the series, it's not something that I want to rush. I wanted to enjoy it and kind of have it for the long run, if that makes sense. So that's why I think I was a bit hesitant picking it up, so I didn't let it affect my rating. As I said, the prologue really hooked me after the synopsis. If that didn't sell me, the prologue did. But when I went from the prologue to the actual chapters, I felt like the transition there was a slight shift in tone. Like, the prologue felt very, I want to say well written, but I don't mean the rest of the book wasn't well written. I just mean the prologue was just super awesomely well written, and it just felt almost melancholy and a little bit darker. But then when we got to the main chapters, I was like, whoa, okay, this definitely sounds like it's from a teenager's point of view. Although it's not whiny, it's nothing like that. I could just feel like a shift in that transition. It wasn't as samey as I was hoping the rhythm to be. Like, I thought it was going to last like how the prologue was all the way through, if that makes sense. But I did still enjoy the way it was written for the rest of it. It was still very compelling, as I mentioned earlier. Nothing was taken away from that aspect. Funnily enough, even though I gave it such a high rating, as I was reading it, I was like, hold on a minute, I don't know too much about these characters in terms of what they look like. And as for the setting, it's very basically described. There wasn't very much world building, in my opinion. That's usually such a big thing for me, but for some reason I found myself not caring at all. Like, I was still enjoying it, and as I said, it was like midway through that I realised this, and it didn't change anything. I still felt like I knew the characters, if that makes sense, and I feel like the pictures helped me to kind of describe some of the other characters that weren't as well described as I was hoping them to be. But yeah, it didn't bother me at all, which is strange. But I guess if you have a problem with kind of like a lack of character development and world building, then that might be an issue for you. Something that I'll mention in more detail in the spoiler section, so if you stay around for that, you'll have a little bit more of an idea of what I mean. But the characters were amazing, but I wasn't happy with some of the events that occurred between certain characters, and I found like the magic did kind of lose itself a little bit as I was reading the story and as I was discovering things. It wasn't as magical and fantasy-ness as I was hoping for. I was hoping for more horror, more scare, more mystery, and as things unravelled, it wasn't really like that. Again, adding to that whole horror aspect that I thought I was going to get. I think it was to do with the pictures. They were very eerie, very, very eerie, but beautifully done. But I did find that sometimes when one picture was used to describe a character or something, later on when we were talking about that same character and they were using a different picture, it didn't match up as well as I'd hoped. And I know that's no fault of Ransom Riggs. He was just using images that he thought best for that particular moment and whatnot. But that was just a smidgen of an irritant that I could think of. I couldn't really let that one slide. I needed to voice that part. I'm really, really happy with how the direction of the story went. I know my review's a little bit all over the place, but I just got to get it out there. I did really enjoy this book. We were kind of left with a cliffhanger, and it's definitely got me wanting more. I really do want to jump into Hollow City, but as I said, I want it to be kind of a lengthy journey. I don't want to just rush into it for the sake of rushing into it and then not appreciating it after, so I'm going to read a few books in between just to kind of drag it out a little bit longer. Finally, I just want to mention, at the very back of this there's an interview with Ransom Riggs, and I rarely read those, but even though I was skimming, I had to go back and read it from the beginning because the questions and his answers were just so interesting. I found him to be such an interesting guy. Like, I wanted to know more about him and what possessed him to write such a story, where he came up with the ideas, where he found the photos. All of that's answered in the Q&A section, so if you've got this, or if all, I don't know if all of the editions have that little bit at the back, but definitely read the interview if you can. It's a really good one. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to the spoilery bit. So if you haven't read this book, please do not watch any further. I don't want to ruin it for you. I think I've given you guys enough time. Yeah, let's go on with the spoilery bits. Right, so the first bit that I really want to mention is that time travel. I was so bloody excited. I didn't know there was going to be any kind of time travel in this book at all. Like, when it was building up to that in the story, I was like, wait, is this happening? Is this what I think it's going to be? Is this time travel? And then when it happened, I was like, yes! Oh my god, I was not expecting that. It was so bloody awesome, and I think it was done superbly, like really, really well. And I don't know if I've got such a good, like, strong standing in saying that because I've not really read many time travel books. I don't think I've read any, but the way this was done, I particularly liked it, and it's got me wanting to pick up some actual time travel books that I know about time travel, just because of the way this was written. Another bit, as I was mentioning earlier in the non-spoiler section, about characters and events that I didn't like between them, what I was talking about was Emma and Jacob. I didn't really find their romantic relationship necessary for the story. I thought it was a bit weird, in all honesty. I didn't think it was right, especially as it's like she's pretty much dead, and also she was in love and had a thing with his granddad, so it's like some sort of necrophilia and also some sort of incest. It was strange. It even mentions like incest in here, so yeah, incest necrophilia is never a good thing, and I didn't really appreciate that aspect of the book. I think it could have been done completely well without that. I don't know, I just feel like the author threw that in just to have a little bit of romance, just to have you hanging on your edge of your seat, just thinking, oh, what's going to happen between the two? But really, I didn't really care about that bit. I just wanted the friendship and nothing more than that. So that was unfortunate for me. I wasn't interested in that in the slightest, but it was happening, and it's probably going to continue throughout the other books, so I've got that to look forward to, I guess. The next bit is when Jacob actually became friends with the Peculiar Children. That, for me, is when the magic died. I just didn't find it as enchanting or creepy when that was brought to light, when they were actually friends and hanging out and trying to uncover all the happenings that was going on with the, like, missing Ilmbrims, however you say that, you know, the time travelling bird things. Yeah, it just lost its magic for me, and I'm a little bit disappointed, but I mean, I still really enjoyed the book. It just wasn't, it didn't keep that air of mystery that I was hoping it to have for the whole duration, but I mean, I can't really expect that, even though I did, because things have to happen, mysteries have to be solved. Yeah, even when is it Whites, is that what they're called? Even when they came into it, it just wasn't as scary anymore. I mean, suspenseful, yes, like, oh my god, is someone going to die? Yes, it had that kind of fear factor, but it didn't have the horrifying fear factor that I kind of wanted. I also found that the Whites took ages to be explained. I was just left in the dark, not knowing what these creatures were. And when the Hologhasts were introduced, that's when we kind of found out a little bit more about what they were, what kind of beings they were, I suppose. And is Hologhasts a play on word with the Holocaust? Because I know that part of the reason that Jacob's granddad was running was because of the Nazis and everything. So if that is like a play on words, I think that's pretty clever, and it mirrors kind of the reality aspect of the war going on to the more fantasy aspect of these quite literal nightmare monsters like coming along, you know. So I thought that was really clever if that was intentionally done, which I think it was. I am really excited to read the second one, as I mentioned. Just when at the very end you're left with that cliffhanger and you're thinking, will they escape? They will escape, and then obviously those U-boats come along. What are they, U-boats or some sort of enemy ships? And you're like, oh my god, time's not like stopping still anymore, it's not the same day anymore, it's the other events are happening. Is this going to play out like historically accurate, or what's going to happen with these characters? They're like right in the middle of the water and these enemy ships are coming. What is going to happen? I'm really excited, I need to find out. But yeah, that is all for this discussion review thing. Let me know what you have thought about this book. If you jump straight into the next books in the series, what did you think about them without giving anything away, because obviously I haven't read them yet. And yeah, I'd love to know your opinions. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall speak to you next time. Bye.